Hey, my name is Jay, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the FinancialUA General Service Office located here in Baltimore, Maryland. And today we've got an excellent video. I'm going to teach you how to use the Four Quarters Worksheet. The Four Quarters is one of our recovery tools in FinancialUA. By the way, the website for the FinancialUA program is financialua.org. Feel free to click on the website to check it out, because on our website we will have links to download free copies of the FinancialUA Four Quarters Worksheet, as well as in the description box below I'm going to provide a link so you can download a Four Quarters Worksheet of your own, and you can download it as many times as you want completely for free. And if you want to see more videos just like this about how to apply 12-step recovery to real-life situations in the most prosperous manner possible, I want to encourage you to click the subscribe button and also consider giving this video a big thumbs up and like the video for service. Now, let's get on with the video. This is the second video in a two-part series about the Four Quarters Worksheet. If you'd like to see the first video in the series, you can click this link right up here. Let's talk about debt, in fact. So this is the third quarter. We're going to talk about debt. Now, financial underearners don't necessarily prefer to go into debt, but oftentimes that's just what happens. If a financial underearner is not able to earn enough money to pay for food, clothing, shelter, and transportation, they may need to start going into debt just to pay for survival basics. It's not like the debtor who is addicted to spending. The financial underearner has no choice but to start going into debt, whereas the debtor inevitably chooses to go to debt or turns to debt to find a way to enable them to continue spending. Financial underearners, they wish they couldn't spend, but when they have to, they start using debt to make up for their lack of income. And they use debt just to pay for food and clothing and shelter, transportation, whereas debtors use debt to pay for luxury cars, plane tickets, fur coats, popping bottles of champagne, or all that crazy stuff. So anyways, let's start talking about debt. What would belong in the debt quarter? What kind of categories? What do you think? You know what? That's a great idea. Credit cards. Credit cards are a form of debt. We're going to write 1, 2, and 3. Because a lot of times, most people, not everybody, but most people tend to have a credit card, and they usually tend to have more than one. So we'll just put credit card number 1, and then we'll have credit card number 2, credit card number 3. So on your Four Quarters Worksheet, you can put how much you owe on each of your credit cards to help be clear about what is your debt. So you're going to write how much you owe on each card, and you can even put the percentage rate that you're paying in interest. So if you're clear about what rate of interest you're paying on each card, you can put that over here as well. I'll just put the percentage sign so you know that means your interest rate. Then what other forms of debt are there? Hey, that's a good idea. Student loans. A lot of people carry student loans. So that would be debt category number 4, student loans. So it might be a good idea to write down how much your total student loans are, and also if there's a interest rate on your student loans. I can't tell you, I know so many financial underearners who have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on their education, yet they only earn $40, $50, or $60,000 a year of income. And that is crazy that they earn so little, yet they spent so much on their education, and now they have these tremendous student loans they have to pay back. But anyways, this is just an exercise in being honest and having clarity. It's not to judge, it's just to see the truth. Now let's see, what other types of loans are there? Well, there's personal loans. I don't know if you know anybody who's ever taken out a personal loan. So you could put how much that's worth and also the interest rate on that. What other type of debt is there? That's a great one, mortgage. Because a mortgage is a form of unsecured debt. Now there's a lot of people who would say that a mortgage is actually secured, but that's not entirely true. In fact, I could make a whole YouTube video all about the truth behind a mortgage and whether or not it's secured or unsecured. The truth is that it is both, but it's only secured for the bank, whereas it is unsecured for the home buyer. And we could talk about that at another time. But anyways, let's just write a mortgage right here. By the way, do you know what a mortgage stands for? Do you know what it means? If you look it up in the dictionary, what the origin of that word is? You are absolutely correct. It means death pledge. So if you look up the etymology or the background of the word mortgage, it actually comes from French. Mort refers to death, and then the gage refers to the idea of a pledge or making a pledge unto your death, meaning that you pledge until you die that you will pay this off or else, right? Anyways, but yeah, that's mortgage, death pledge. I bet not as many people would buy houses with a mortgage if they understood that a mortgage is actually a death pledge. But anyways, more about that later. Are there any other forms of loan that you can think of? You know, that's a good one. Payday loans. Oh, those are horrible loans, but a lot of people might use them. Anyways, let's write that down. Payday loans. Those loans are so bad. They're so difficult, so challenging. Anyways, let's stop there. You could probably continue to itemize all the different types of debt that you have, and it's good for clarity, for honesty and transparency. Just write them all out. There's no need to judge. We're just trying to get to the truth. And of course, at the bottom, we're going to write total. And right here, you'll total up your entire amount of debt and put it right there. So what this is here, this number represents your debt load. It means the weight, the total amount of debt that you are carrying. Again, financial under-earners have a difficulty with earning. Therefore, they have problems with spending because they don't have enough money, and they start to use debt to buy survival items like food or clothing, that sort of thing. Whereas debtors, it doesn't matter how much they earn, whether it's a lot, a little, or just enough, or just right, they always spend more, and then they use debt to enable them to spend even more on top of that. So while financial under-earners have a disease of income, they have a disease of earning, debtors, number one, have a disease of spending, and that leads to having a disease of debting. Now the last quarter we're going to talk about, the fourth quarter, is my favorite, and it is all about wealth. Now there's lots of different types of wealth. What do you think good wealth looks like? Any ideas? Write your ideas in the comment section below. Hey, that's a great idea. Savings. Because people who have wealth tend to have quite a bit in savings. There's a couple different types of savings that wealthy people have. What kind of types are those? You know what? A lot of wealthy people have emergency reserves. So we'll put an emergency reserve right here. A lot of times people who have an emergency reserve tend to put roughly about $1,000 in there. I put 1K for 1,000. So an emergency reserve is part of your savings, it's part of your wealth, but it's there just in case you have an emergency where you need to respond to a situation very quickly. Because it's an emergency, you have $1,000. And $1,000 is a good amount of money to have access to handle immediate situations. But there's other types of savings. How about a prudent reserve? So we'll write number 3, prudent, P-R-U-D-E-N-T, prudent reserve. And usually when people have a prudent reserve, they have 3 to 6 months of income in their prudent reserve. And the difference between an emergency reserve and a prudent reserve is this. Emergency reserves are there to help you respond quickly to immediate emergencies, whereas a prudent reserve is there to help you respond slowly to difficult situations where you have the luxury of time to make a decision or develop a plan about how to deal with a situation that is unfolding in a slow manner. So let's use an example. When the pandemic first hit, the viral illness that spread throughout the planet, people needed money in their emergency reserve to go buy toilet paper, milk, hand sanitizer, and paper towels. Because that's what was completely gone at all the grocery stores that I went to during that time. And then a lot of people lost their jobs when the businesses closed down. So they had money to buy emergency goods, survival goods, that helped them to respond to the immediate needs that they had. And then wealthy people also tended to have 3 to 6 months of savings that covered their income, so that even if they lost their job, if their business or their workplace shut down because of the pandemic, they could go for 3 to 6 months and have enough money to live on and not have to worry about taking out any debt. They had enough money to spend in all of their categories so that they had peace of mind and they did not need to panic. And they also had the luxury of time to think about what their long-term plan was going to be. Let's talk about equity for a second. Equity is what you get when you take out a mortgage on a property, and as you slowly pay off the mortgage loan, you pay and purchase that house or that property slowly over a period of time, usually 30 years. That's the typical length of your mortgage. The portion that you pay that actually goes towards paying for the property, over time, all of those portions add up, and that's called equity. So equity refers to the percentage that you have paid towards your house. How much of your house do you actually own as compared to the percentage of the house that the bank owns? Now, there are also a couple other types of wealth. A lot of wealthy people own property. So let's say a wealthy person or somebody who has wealth, they own a piece of property free and clear. Then that really belongs to them. That's different from having a mortgage on a property where really the bank owns the property and you're slowly buying that property from the bank over a lengthy period of time. Real property is something you own outright, and wealthy people can rent that property. So what happens is they can take their wealth and turn it into an income generating asset. So this is how wealthy people become even more wealthy. First, they save up money in their savings, and then they use it to purchase things that generate income. Like, for example, a business. A business, if you own it, could be a source of wealth. So by the way, I'm going to say for property and business, those are going to also be assets. One way that wealthy people become even more wealthy is that they start with a job or some kind of earning or some type of income source, then they use it to save up money, and then they use the money to purchase, to spend, but what they do is they purchase things that generate more money. For example, they might purchase rental property. They might purchase a business. And both of these are what's called assets. Assets are things that generate more income or generate more cash flow. So there's a way to put money over here so that it cycles back up here. And then once you have more income, you could buy more assets. Assets generate more income, which comes up here, and then you can use that to purchase more assets. That's how wealthy people continually become more and more wealthy over time. Let's talk about a few other types of wealth. We'll put as number 7, stock. S-T-O-C-K. And what stock is, it's purchasing a small percentage of a large company. So if you buy stock, you're actually becoming a part owner of another company, usually a really large corporation. And stocks can appreciate in value over time. Sometimes a stock can also be an asset if it pays out a dividend. If a stock just increases in value over time, it's called an investment. But if that stock generates a dividend, then it is an asset because it's generating income. The best type of stocks are both an investment and an asset, meaning that the price of the stock goes up over time and it generates a dividend, which is a form of income. Again, clever people find ways to make the money do the work for them instead of working for the money. I know somebody who likes to buy gold, and they prefer to invest in gold because they believe that even when the stock market goes up or down, or the real estate market goes up or down, or the economy goes up and down, that gold will hold its price very steadily and slowly over time increase in value. So there's lots of different ways to look at this, lots of different forms of wealth. The last thing what we want to do is just write total. And then put a line right there. And what you're going to do is on your 4 quarters, you're going to total up all of your wealth. By the way, I'm also going to put, just as a separate little category, number 9, we'll write it real small right there. We'll just put personal possessions. I don't know if you've ever taken a walk through your house or your apartment, room by room, and inventoried everything that you own. Your television, your computer, your clothes, your mattress, your dining set, your fine china, everything, your microwave, anything you own inside of your home are your personal possessions. And at some level, they are worth money. They might not be worth what you paid for them, but they might still hold some value if you ever needed to sell some of that stuff. Your wealth is more than just the money you have in the bank, or the number of stocks you own, or the amount of gold bullion that you own, or the businesses that you own, or the property that you own and rent out. It's also the things that you have inside of your house. Even what you have, what you're wearing, or if you have a gold watch, or your jewelry. Those are all your personal possessions. That's part of your wealth. So it might make sense to do an inventory, to just walk through your home and inventory, what do you own? Now here's the thing. When we look below the horizon, we look at the difference between your debt and your wealth. Your debt is what you owe. Your wealth is what you own. And what we can do is by looking at your total wealth and your total debt, we can determine your net worth. And your net worth is a number that is the difference between what you own minus what you owe. So basically we take all of your assets and then subtract your liabilities, and whatever you have left over is your net worth. If it's in the positive, you have a positive net worth. If it's in the negative, it means you are in debt. And there's a difference between carrying a debt load and being in debt. You could have a positive net worth even while you're carrying a debt load. You might owe $100,000, but your total wealth might be $500,000. So the difference between the two is $400,000 on the positive side. So that $400,000 serves as collateral against the debt that you have. But let's reverse it. Let's say you own $100,000 of wealth, but you owe $400,000 of debt. Well, you are in debt because the total amount of debt is greater than the amount of wealth that you have to secure it. So your wealth is not sufficient as collateral to secure the amount of debt that you're carrying. So therefore, you're not just carrying a debt load, you are in debt. So again, when we compare your total wealth to your total debt, if it's in the positive, that means you have a positive net worth. If it's negative, that means you're in debt. Let's talk about the solution. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the golden ratio. By the way, if you want to see a video about the golden ratio, I'm going to put a link right up here so you can click that to learn more about the golden ratio, because we're going to talk about that. In FinancialUA, our program helps to increase a person's income and restore their capacity to earn. Once this positive income is high enough, they will have enough money to cover everything that they need in terms of their spending. And they will have enough money left over to pay their debt. And they will still have enough money left over to put towards saving for the future. So the golden ratio that we use here in FinancialUA is called the 60-30-10% split, which means that once you are starting to prosper, once you're earning and your income is abundant and prosperous, you can then take that earning and that income and spend 60% of it to pay for everything that you need in terms of your spending. Then you can take your earning and income and take 30% of it and start paying off your debt. Usually it's recommended that you start with the smallest debt first and pay that off, and then go to the next smallest debt and pay that off. So you basically work from smallest to largest. That's one method. It's called the snowball method. Then you also have the avalanche method, which means you look at the largest debt that you have and you put all of it towards the largest debt first, and then work from the largest down to the smallest. Personally, I recommend starting with the smallest and going to the largest, the snowball versus the avalanche. Really, it's completely up to you which approach you take, or anything in between. You might consider talking with a trained professional or a trusted advisor, or even other recovered members who are prosperous in FinancialUA, and ask them how they paid off their debt. You might also even consider interviewing solvent and debt-free members in Debtors Anonymous to ask them what was the method that they used to pay off their debt. Did they use the golden ratio or any other type of ratio? Did they have a series of pressure relief groups? What did they do? Anyways, so back to the golden ratio. Once in FinancialUA your earning and your income is healthy and abundant, you could put 60% towards your spending, 30% to pay down your debt, and you could put the last 10% towards paying yourself, putting money into your savings, putting money into buying stock or gold. But usually you would probably want to start off by putting money into savings. First, your emergency reserve until you have $1,000 there, or give or take a little bit. Or next, putting money into your prudent reserve until you have 3 to 6 months. Some members have 9 to 12 months in their prudent reserve. Some members have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 years worth of living expenses in their prudent reserve. It varies from person to person in recovery depending on their situation. Over time, members in FinancialUA start earning more and more and more, which means they have more money as a ratio to put towards their spending, and more money to put towards paying down their debt, and more money to put towards wealth. Even though the ratio may stay the same, the quantity of money that ratio represents actually is greater when their income is greater. Over time, as they pay down all of their debt, eventually what happens is all of this debt gets paid off. How's that for prosperity? So in FinancialUA, once you pay off all of your debt, and by the way, this also works for members of Debtors Anonymous. Once you pay off all your debt, you can drop it like I dropped that mic. I'm kidding, but no more debt. Imagine how your 4 quarters looks when you no longer have a quarter that focuses on debt. Well, now you have a 3 quarters worksheet. And what happens is all of your income then gets split between spending and savings or building wealth. And then what happens is the 30% that you used to pay towards your debt, once the debt is all paid off, that 30% you now can put towards your wealth, and your wealth becomes 40%. And then you get 60-40, which is part of our golden ratio, where when debt is no longer an issue, all of your income can either be put towards spending, 60%, or savings, 40%. And all of that extra money can really propel you faster and faster towards building up your prudent reserve and your individual retirement accounts, your 401ks. In fact, we could write that on here as well, because 401ks or Roth or IRA, individual retirement accounts like a Roth account, those are also sources of wealth or savings. So you can start taking all of that money and put it towards every one of these different categories and build your wealth like crazy, super fast. And that's really living in your abundance. Now's the time for sharing. Who'd like to take a share? In the comments section below, please share your experience, strength, and hope around using the 4 Quarters Worksheet. What part worked best for you? What were your categories for earning, spending, debt, or savings and wealth building? What kind of categories did you use? Did you enjoy using the worksheet? How often do you use it? And what purpose do you use it for? Is it for personal reasons or for business reasons? Please share your experience in the comments section below. Remember, when you take a share, other members can learn from you, because in FinancialUA, everybody's a student and everybody's a teacher. If you found value in this video, you might want to consider clicking the thumbs up button and give us a big thumbs up for service. You might also consider sharing this video with your sponsor or your sponsee or anybody else you know in recovery who might be able to benefit from learning more about the 4 Quarters Worksheet. Please do consider sharing this video with other people. If you would like to make a 7th tradition to the FinancialUA program, I will leave a link in the description box below that will take you to PayPal, where you can click that and make a 7th tradition donation to our program. You may also support our program by purchasing a copy of our FinancialUA 12-step workbook or our FinancialUA Traditions workbook. You can also support the FinancialUA program by subscribing to the FinancialUA channel. You might also consider ringing the notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time FinancialUA posts a new video, and you can be one of the first people to see it. At this time, I would love to invite you to say the prosperity prayer with me as a way of getting positive spiritual closure on this video. Let's do that together. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, the wisdom to know the difference, and the prosperity to afford it. That's so awesome. I really appreciate that you said the prayer with me. And of course, I want to encourage you to keep coming back. I really appreciated that you were a part of this video. Thanks so much. You are awesome. I wish you a lot of recovery and a tremendous and abundant amount of prosperity. And I look forward to speaking with you soon. Have a great day.
God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, courage to change the things we can, wisdom to know the difference, and the prosperity